In humanity, one of the biggest problems is that we use the word heart and soul almost interchangeably. We even use it heart and soul. But there's a very, very big difference between the heart and the soul. And we have to establish that difference. Otherwise, the soul, which is a deeper, more important entity than the heart, will never grow. The soul has to distinguish itself from the heart, which means the emotional center of the psyche. Here I have initials. S is for the soul. R is reason. E is emotions. A is animal. P is physique. The soul is served by four different faculties in order to grow itself. But usually, especially in the white race, emotions take over from the soul and become the center or the identity or the central interest. A lot of humans believe they have a lot of soul, but really they have a lot of emotion. That's different. The soul is different. The soul can live in the head and the heart and the animal and in the physique, which is also a mind. The body is a mind. It's a mind of matter, but it's a mind, right? The heart is an emotional monopoly of the soul, whereas the soul is a central self that wants to grow through four different faculties. The soul is the true life entity, and it unifies with other life entities, which means when the heart identifies and is very strong affiliation with the family, the race, the country, the language, and the religion, the heart is an addict of these things. Whereas the soul is not. The soul basically unites with any race, any family, any country, any language, any religion that it feels good in. So the soul even identifies with other species, which means that the soul can unite with the soul of a dog, the soul of a cat, the soul of a lion. Anything that wants to live and not die, anything that is making efforts to live and efforts not to die, has a soul. Even a plant has a soul. A plant wants to grow. It protects itself from death. It attacks its enemies with poisons and chemicals. A tree has a soul. A rock does not protect itself from breakage or from being cut or crushed. Therefore, a rock doesn't have a soul. When the heart or the emotions have a monopoly on the soul, the reason works for the emotions to justify the emotions. The animal works also for the interest of the emotions. The physique works for the emotions. Therefore, the heart can become huge and the other faculties become dwarfs. That is a sign of a heart arrogance or a heart monopoly or a heart ego, which in our civilization, we don't identify as a problem. Somebody can live 95% of their life in their heart, and we think they're living, 100%, 95% in their soul. That is not true. The soul must flourish from head to toe in order to advance in life. But we don't do that in humanity. In humanity, we concentrate on the emotions as the fulcrum of the soul. If the soul identifies with its family, its race, its country, its language, and its religion, it's not going to feel comfortable with any other family, any other race, any other country, any other language, or any other religion. And it's automatic. If you get possessive, if you get identified, if your whole personality is built around your race, your country, your family, your language, and your religion, you're going to feel comfortable in your pond, and you're not going to feel comfortable in any other pond. It's a very big effort to adapt to other countries and other people. So there's no true unity with other souls in the heart, even though heart has the pretension of being a big love and a big compassion. It's not true, because If you are with your race, with your country, with your language, with your religion, you automatically have a problem with other human beings. People who can take an orphan from Ethiopia and love that orphan like their own child with authentic love, this is a soul event. The human heart has a very hard time with that because it's not my blood, it's not my DNA, it's not my race. This kid doesn't come from my country, he doesn't speak the same language, he doesn't have the same religion. So it's a very hard time to love an Ethiopian orphan for people who are a lot into the heart and not enough into the soul. The soul has a natural sense of uniting with all souls, no matter where they come from, even of other species. The human heart is kind of a false soul because it's not at the center. It's not the real soul. It's like a false soul. And a false soul has to belong to a clan. It feels comfortable when it belongs to a clan. It needs the love of the family. It needs the love of the race. It needs to be close and feel good as a nationalist, a country, a patriot. It feels comfortable in its language. It doesn't feel comfortable in anybody else's language. It feels comfortable in its church and its religion, and it feels uncomfortable in any other religion. So the heart is not one, which it claims in religion especially, that it is one. It is not one. It is one with its own clan. It is not one with any other clan. The human heart does not have a Star Trek type of mentality. A Star Trek mentality is where all the races unite and you are judged by your merit, by your competence, not by the color of your skin, your race, or from what social status you come out of. Whether you came out of poverty or wealth doesn't matter. It's your merit that counts. These are not the values of the heart. These are the values of the soul. These revelations here are not an academic development. These are as a result of my meditation on the soul. I meditate on the soul. I don't meditate on the spirit. The soul is extremely deep, extremely profound, extremely old, and comes from the evolution of life itself. The soul is our tie to the evolution of life, which is the truth. The spirit is a mistake. The spirit is when the soul pays attention to some penthouse entity that is supposed to be almighty, but that isn't almighty. You know you're in the heart and you're in the emotions when you have problems with animal interests and physical interests, like money and sex are animal and physical interests. And the heart usually has a lot of problems with money. It has a lot of problems with sex. There's a lot of butterflies in the stomach. Butterflies in the stomach are butterflies in the animal. Right? The heart basically creates a wall against the animal. The most hated enemy of the heart is the animal self, which it feels is Satan incarnated. The soul does not have this. The soul treats all faculties as treasures. All faculties have to grow. A grown physique into a man or into a woman is important. If your physique stays a child or an adolescent, that's not so good. The heart doesn't care about that. In fact, there is a tradition for the heart to make the physique an anorexic. If you look at the models, the fashion models, their physique is not womanly. It's an adolescent. It's an anorexic adolescence. This is what the heart did to the physique. This is a result of the arrogance of the emotions and the arrogance of the heart. The soul loves a full woman, a developed woman, a woman grown physically, right? That's not the preferences of the heart. And here we have an example of the gigantic difference between heart and soul. The heart doesn't like to talk about rent, mortgage, money, sex, and death. Fundamentals of life. It doesn't like to talk about them. It likes to suppress the existence of these things. The soul doesn't like to suppress existence of very important factors in one's life. It has no problems with sexuality. It loves a good sexuality. It doesn't like a bad sexuality. It doesn't like rape, right? It likes money because wealth brings more to the soul than poverty. Poverty doesn't bring a lot to the soul. It brings suffering to the soul. The soul doesn't like to suffer. The heart feels often that suffering is a positive. Christian religious values believe that suffering, vows of poverty, right, and self-denial is a positive. You see the big difference between heart and soul. The soul is after real joy. The heart is often into fake joy. One of the big differences between heart and soul is that the heart eventually gets attracted to the spiritual world of the dead. The spirit world exists. It exists for the dead. It is a way for the living to go to the dead, to get recycled back into the living. Life is the treasure. Death is the enemy. Reincarnation is a force of evolution. It is not a force of the spirit. Well, in conclusion, right, there's a very big difference between heart or emotions and the soul. We need to know ideas and sentiments that come from the soul and how they're different from ideas and sentiments that come from the heart. We need to make this distinction, otherwise we don't understand our own soul.